every single day should have a goal. What is today about? What is the one thing that if I accomplished it today would be a success? And generally speaking, that one thing should add up to your 14-day goal, your 2-week sprint. For these 2 weeks, what am I trying to achieve? If I said I'm going to make $10,000 a day, well, over a 14-day period, that would be $140,000. Cool. My goal for today would be make $10,000. That's the outcome. What is the method or the means? Cool. So if the means of that is for me to sell this many of these products and this many of these products, now I know what today is about. And everything in today should be going toward these specific goals. If somebody wants to do something that's going to take away from these goals, answer is no. If somebody wants to collaborate on these goals, or someone says, hey, can I help you? Yes, you can. I'm working on this. Every day should have a goal. You should be able to look back on your calendar and see what your life's been about. Oh yeah, this day I was working on this and I achieved it. This day I was working on this. I hit about 80%. This day I was working on this. I completely didn't achieve it because X, Y, and Z happened. This day I was working on this. I did achieve it. And now I've looked at the last 14 days. My goal is to make $140,000. One day I made $8,000. One day I was right on the dot, made $10,000. Another day I made $13,000. And at the end of it, here we are at $128,000. I didn't hit the goal. I did pretty well. Let's run another 14 days intense. Maybe take a couple of days off, take a break, and then let's run another couple intense sprints. So every day has to have a goal. Now your goal doesn't have to be make $10,000 a day. It doesn't really matter what the figure is or what the outcome is. It doesn't have to be financial, but every day has to have meaning. You see, you don't want to look up at the end of the day and say, whoa, today went by so fast. Wow, it's like I just woke up like hours ago and here I am about to go to sleep. And then you can't figure out what that day was about. Because that day, that's called your life. And if you have too many days that slip by you, you got too many days where just zoom goes by and you didn't take anything out of that day, you're going to have a life without meaning. You're going to look back like, wow, I didn't achieve any goals. I didn't do anything great for myself. I didn't do anything great for other people. I didn't hit any of my bucket list items. Every day needs to have a meaning. Yes, indeed. Thank you for that question. Carrying on. Do not work for money, work for goals. I also want to let you guys know something. So say your goal is to build a certain amount of wealth. One of the reasons that a prostitute needs a P is because they're short-sighted. Number one, they overvalue themselves and they don't know how to respond to markets. Women in general overvalue themselves and don't know how to respond to markets. I'll tell you what I mean. For example, there's something called anchoring too high. So say you have a prostitute, right? And it's what's today? Thursday. Okay, cool. So let's say it's Wednesday or Tuesday. So it's Tuesday, right? And the prostitute is going out on the blade on Tuesday at 12 noon. She ain't got nothing else to do. So she goes out on the blade Tuesday, 12 noon. She's trying to catch a date. And Tuesday, 12 noon, she ain't catching no dates. Not enough traffic. Not enough people are looking for it. She ain't making no money. So then she has a couple regulars. She texts one of the regulars. She says, hey, what's up? And he says, oh yeah, come through. And she says, okay, cool. It'll be 300. And he's like, last time it was 150. And she's like, well, it's 300. He's like, all right, well, I can't do it. Maybe next time. See, a P with the prostitute, she's just going to lose that opportunity. And then she's going to continue walking back and forth on that blade and there's no customers there. And she just messed up the opportunity with the potential guy who would be a client, right? Because she tried to overcharge him, which was dumb. It's dumb because right now, what are you doing, love? For the next 3 hours, you're going to walk back and forth down this blade and nobody's picking you up. You're not working at all. You're not doing anything. So what's your effective hourly rate? $0. So even if you would have took the 150 to do that job instead of the 300 you wanted, you would have made profit. And here's what a P can tell her. You need to be looking at it not as a customer interaction, but as a client interaction, which means the following. Number one, client is long-term. You've been dealing with him for a while. You got a relationship. Go over there, do him a solid. 150, you ain't doing nothing else. Do him a solid and tell him, hey, man, I did this 150. It really should be 300. You got to show me love next time. Then he's like, all right, cool. But if you really got some ism in you, love, once you show up and he agreed on 150, what do? You do what a businessman taught you to do, which is to upsell. Yeah, get him for the 150. If you know he got more, find other things to sell to him. Sell him some time, sell him some conversation, sell him some dreams, sell him something. But the key is just showing up. Show up for the 150, capture the 150, and go for greater profit because you have the prospect right in front of you. Problem is, she was working for money, not for a goal. If she was working for the goal, she'd say, okay, I'm looking at this trick. Over time, I can pull 20,000 out of him this month. I might have to do it bit by bit, but he got 20,000 he could spend this month. I'm going to get it bit by bit. He's a client. Maintain the relationship. But instead, she playing games over here. She's dealing with the difference between $150 to $300, minor difference, forgetting about the difference of what happens when you add up $150 every day. Yeah, you go over there and get that boy hooked. He wants you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. $150 every go. Oh, that's going to add up. That's going to add up real quick. You ain't thinking like that. She's working for money instead of working for a goal. She's focused on the immediate next step of the immediate, how much am I going to get paid right now based on what you agree on right now, rather than, yes, I'll take this, but I'm really not. I might show up for the 150, but what I'm really aiming to do is to get this other greater amount. She don't know nothing. That's how they are. That's why they need somebody to steer them. They need somebody to steer them. Problem is that a lot of people think like hoes. They think like cheap hoes. Yeah, instead of thinking like a P, they think like a cheap hoe. It's a sad thing. Carrying on. Speaking of self-sabotage, right? I really want you guys to understand this. If you're failing in life, it's not because you're black. It's not because you're Latino. It's not because your dad was not a good dad. It's not because you grew up poor. It's not because you're short, not because you're fat, not because you're ugly. It might be because you're fat. I'm not going to lie. Being fat doesn't help. Not because you're ugly. It's probably because you have a mental blockage and it's manifesting in you failing to do certain things. For example, you're parsimonious, which means like, unreasonably unwilling to spend. Well, they say it takes money to make money. There's some truth, but what I mean is you have to invest. Everything has a cost. You got to pay what you owe. That's one of our mottos, pay what you owe. Failure to pay for expert advice. Earlier, I mentioned you have to use time, you have to use study. Well, sometimes that's you using your time and you using your study, and other times you pay someone else who's really good at it. Like me, if I have to pay a lawyer, I'd much rather pay a lawyer to use their experience in law school and their experience in trial than for me to go to law school, because that take a lot more time for me to go to law school. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to pay an expert for their advice or for their service. Understand it. Failure to pay for effective education. What I mean by effective education is that you guys might pay to take a course on cryptocurrency, which is not going to teach you how to do anything meaningful. When instead you could have took a course on mortuary science, and by the end of that course, you have a certificate and a specific skill set. You know how to make up dead bodies and make them look presentable during funerals. And for that service, we're going to pay you $80,000 a year. Effective education. It is a vocation that will pay you. And you knew that going into it, paying for the correct education. Or failure to pay for exclusive networking. Hey, here's the thing. Sometimes you have what are called gatekeepers, a person you need to know or you need to meet to get an opportunity. You got to know them and be familiar to them. It's been wrongly stated. It's all about who you know. Incorrect. It's about who knows you. It's not about who you know. It's about who knows you. You know of Drake. Does Drake know of you? Probably not. But if Drake did know of you, I bet he could open up some doors for you. So failure to pay for exclusive networking. What I mean by that is, when I go to a certain spot, it opens up opportunities for me to meet certain kinds of guys. Not that I have the interest. I'm actually just going for the services, to be honest with you. But if I wanted to, I could go to the spa, go to the hot tub, the steam room, the sauna, strike up a conversation. Hey, yeah, blah, 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 talk about something irrelevant. Eventually, oh, what do you do? Oh, what do you do? Oh, yeah, I run the. Great. Fantastic. And if there's intersection, we can do something. We can probably do something, or they can introduce me to someone relevant. But you got to pay for that, generally speaking. You go to the gala, you got to pay $5,000 for your seat, for your meal, for your plate. You go to the expensive spa, you're going to pay $200 for a pedicure that would have been $70 somewhere else. You got to pay for the experience and for the connection. And then there's another way you're sabotaging yourself financially. It's called gambling. And there's various forms of gambling. I try to order them in the most detrimental. All right, wait, I think I screwed that up. Okay, they're all detrimental. Who cares what the order is? Here we go. Um, Casinos. That's an obvious one. You go to a casino, you're probably not going to win, especially given the way that they've organized things in the casino, which is to say, mostly they have slot machines, which are running based on computer software that has determined in advance every slot machine will be profitable. There's never been a slot machine situation that's not profitable. Collectively, the slot machines are always profitable because they're running on software. They even have a disclaimer on them that says if they pay out a jackpot due to a error in the software, you will not be paid. It's quite comical. Margin trading. This is talking about the stock market. If you're trading on borrowed funds, this is very dangerous and this is a bad idea. This is also a form of gambling and it is recommended against. Also crypto. This is also a form of gambling because you're essentially speculating on things that you have limited facts on and there's no underlying asset. So how are you assessing the value of Bitcoin or of Ethereum or just fill in the blank with any coin? Well, there really is no value underlying it. There's no nation that has an army and is going to fight and murder to maintain the value of that coin. So there's no underlying value. It's all speculative, and you don't have any great advantage in this industry or field. So casino, margin trading, and crypto, this is all gambling. These are all things that are eventually going to undo you. Highly recommend against them.